So from now on, when I vote for people, I want to look at their history. I want to look at their voting record. I want to see what they were doing before they decided to become politicians. Just like with Bernie Sanders, he's been down for the cause since day one. He's been down for the cause since day one. And nobody understands or appreciates someone like that. When it comes to black athletes, okay, and this is throughout all history, okay, it is always unique when really anyone of color represents America in, for the sake of argument, for sports, okay. It is always a interesting dynamic because it's always, okay, you're representing a country that for a long time didn't represent you. For a long time, I'm talking about 400 something years, not just a couple months. A long time didn't represent you. So just like religion, Christianity, a black person who claims to be Christian, at some point the conversation is going to come up. That is not your religion. That was forced upon your ancestors. Why are you still under, quote unquote, a white man religion? So it's always a lot of different things, especially when it comes to sports and, any sports that's outside of America. It's always going to be questioned. And same thing with just a couple of days ago with the FIFA tournaments. I'm not really into soccer like that. So, hey, it's a tournament or whatever it's going on out there. One of the American soccer players who is black was asked a really interesting question, but what's best is that he had a beautiful answer to go along with that. So to help us with this, let's go ahead and take a look at a show that is ran by Charlemagne Tha. It's called Hell of a Week, and he has a panel and they're kind of discussing the situation. So let's take a listen.
Now let's get into our next topic. American scorer story. All right, earlier this week, the U.S. ran Iran's ass up out of the World Cup. Good thing they're already close to home, but something interesting happened leading up to the match. An Iranian reporter got a little spicy with U.S. soccer player Tyler Adams when he asked if Tyler was okay with representing the U.S. due to its discrimination against black people. Let's watch this.
There's discrimination everywhere you go. One thing that I've learned, especially from living abroad in the past years and having to fit in different cultures and kind of assimilate into different cultures, is that in the U.S. we're continuing to make progress every single day.
Cool question, Mr. Iran.
Now, before we proceed with that, that was a very a really good response. It wasn't too defenseful. Like, he could have blown that off and got upset on, why are you asking me this and this? But it wasn't like, a lukewarm, poor answer where he was just like, there's nothing going on in America. America's just fine. And what are you talking about? Like, he gave a real articulate answer that was easy to digest and easy to understand and just go from there. It wasn't, like I said, too defensive, but or too lukewarm and just poor quality. So, before we continue, I just want to say that was a beautiful answer.
Crazy. Now, a lot, what do you think, Representative Dimmons?
As I listened to that interview live that day, I thought, and certainly serving in the House of Representatives, I serve on the intelligence community. We talk a lot about Iran.
Right.
I thought the nerve of the reporter.
Yeah.
To ask this black player, because I don't think the question would have come up had the captain not been black. But the nerve, when they have such human rights violations.
Oh, it's disgusting.
That is the law of the land.
Ooh.
Human rights violation in Iran, right? And so in terms of how do we love this country, I think about black people who suffered, bled, and died so Tyler could be the captain of the soccer team.
Beautiful.
Okay.
So we could play.
And just to add on, I got to add my 2 cents because this is my show right here. Okay. I got to add my 2 cents. It is definitely a little awkward when, someone from that part of the country is asking about the history of America, or some of the issues we have over here, when they're dealing with in my opinion, probably a lot worse, especially today, right now. What I'm saying? Like the young lady said, like, it's a practice over there. This is something that they do constantly on purpose, and the one thing that I can say about America is that we're continuously to progress, or we're at least, looking forward, trying to every day, every year, work towards a better America that we all can envision soon enough. So, boom, there
Football and baseball. And so, yes, America is still a work in progress. We're trying to still work to form that more perfect union. But the nerve of Iran to ask the question about America, or to be judgmental.
Yeah, what's interesting to me is, like, black people, we always feel like the true patriots. Like, we're the ones who believe in this country's creed. We're the ones who are out here constantly demanding this country live up to its creed. Why do we have such faith, Trayvon?
I think we have faith because, one, we have to have it. If we don't have it, we lose out the gate. And I think what's important to understand is, we believe, or people want to think that we believe in a version of America that exists and we've told should exist, but doesn't, or we haven't gotten there yet. But I think the issue is, it's not that America is incapable of living up to what it says it's supposed to be. It's we have all the ingredients. It's like if I gave you a car and the engine was in the trunk and the steering wheel was attached to the door, you have all the parts to still make a car that works, but you have to acknowledge that the engine's in the trunk and the steering wheel's attached to the door. Nobody's acknowledging what's happening to us in the way that it happens, so you can't correct the problem. Every day, people are telling us the steering wheel's not attached to the door. You just say it is. The engine's not in the trunk. You just keep telling us it is. And so it's until we acknowledge that, that's the only way America could ever live up to the ideals we've been told that it possesses.
Representative Demings, you're a politician. Do you think it's possible to change this system from the inside out, or do we just need a whole new system?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Look, I believe in the greatness of this country because I've seen the greatness of this country. No, we don't see it enough. We don't see it every day, but we are a part of all that is good and right about America. When we talk about this debate that we're having in Florida about Black history and American history, well, Black history is American history. Yes. Because we work to build this great nation, right? And so, we just have to, as Trayvon said, we are a work in progress, and we have to keep working on this country. But we are a part of its greatness. Yeah. And we believe. It's not like we don't believe in America. This is our country.
I believe in America. I believe in what Seal said. I believe in us.
We want to hold America to its promise, though.
I would answer that. Go ahead, Amanda.
Go ahead, Seal.
Go ahead.
The America that we're talking about it's never existed. The America that I think Black people deserve to live in has never existed.
Right.
We have to believe that it can exist because we literally built this place. It's actually ours.
We did.
And so without...
Okay. So I'm going to have to interject there. So when she says that it's never lived up to what America claims to be, and I think they're going to touch on it in a couple of minutes here, but I would kind of disagree with that, because I believe there was moments when you did see America actually where America holds its standards. If you look at the speech with Frederick Douglass, if you listen to that speech, that was, to me, kind of like the voice of America in that time. Like, he didn't really demonize people. But he spoke from his heart, and it's like, that right there is America. If you look at MLK, Martin Luther King, everybody knows him. I mean, if you don't know, go ahead after this video, take a look. But MLK, I think, was the best representation of what America could be. And it was just a glimpse, because unfortunately he was taken a little too early. But there was moments in glimpses throughout history, and I'm pretty sure I'm skipping over a whole bunch, but there's little pieces that can kind of show you what America can be if people continue to fight, and not just Black people. Trust me, black people can't do this fight alone. Trust me. We represent not what, 10, 11, 13% of America. So it's like we need a lot of hands to make this work build up and continue. And like Malcolm X said, he said something like, how can you stab me in the back with a 6-inch knife, pull it out 3 inches and call it progress? Well, that is progress, because 6 inches to 3 inches is progress. And I feel like in 2022, we're probably, we taking the knife out the back, but now we just got to do some patching up, do some medical work on the wound, and then we can go to healing. So I think we are making progress, but of course, there's always going to be a lot of bad faith actors in a way, a lot of evil people in a way of progress, and we got to continue to push that forward. Boom.
Believing that we can have that place, what we're saying is that we don't even have a place if we don't make this place our place. You understand?
That's true.
Like, we are stolen people.
Yeah,
that's right.
This was our place that we were able to build.
People.
And guess what? This place was stolen from a people. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, we have to at some point eradicate, to Trayvon's point, the reality that gaslighting is so deep in what has become the American ideal. We have to eradicate that altogether. So to your point, to your question, I don't think we can change anything from the inside without realizing that we have to scorch the earth. Mm-hmm. Like, this was never built properly. You built the car wrong from day one.
Yeah. And I think the proof of what you're saying is the fact that America's greatest export is black culture. Mm. Everywhere you look, everybody is inspired by what they'll say is American culture, but it's dressing like black people, it's talking like black people, it's dancing like black people, it's singing like black people. That's America. Black people is America. And so there are a lot of people who hate that truth. There are a lot of people who don't want to reckon with that idea that we are America.
But back to your question about, can we fix it or build it, you fix it on the inside, or do we start over? That's why it's so important that we put people in positions of power who want to work towards that America that we are talking about, that we have never seen. Elections matter. Who runs corporations matters. Because they are creating the jobs for us. And so can we do it from the inside? Yeah, I believe we can. If we put people in positions who share our values and beliefs and want to see that America.
I agree with that.
Okay, so now my biggest question or concern about that is that's always the goal, especially when you're voting. That's 9 times out of 10 your goal. One, we need to figure out what is a better America, because my definition of a better America is different from, someone else's who just oppose everything I might believe or think. So one, we need to figure out what is the definition of a quote unquote better America. Second, we need to not only vote in people who will just say with their mouth, this is what I'm going to do for you. This is what I want to do for you. I want to work and build towards a better America, because how many times have we been told that? One too many times. So what we need to look for is people who actually have a track record. You see what I'm saying? Like when you go to a job and fill out an application, you can't just tell them whatever you want. They want to look at your application. They want to look at your job history. So for now on, when I vote for people, I want to look at their history. I want to look at their voting record. I want to see what they were doing before they decided to become politicians. Just like with Bernie Sanders. He's been down for the cause since day one. And nobody understands or appreciates someone like that. Now, of course, there's probably plenty of other people, but it's very few. You probably can count on one hand. You know what I'm saying? So you can't just tell us you're trying to get America towards a better place. I need to see some proof now. I don't want to give you the benefit of the doubt. We done did that throughout my whole entire life, for sure. We done already did that. Been there, done that. So from now on, I want to see more than just a good lip service. You know what I'm saying? So Yeah.
Yeah, but don't you got to start from the beginning, though? Because, when they were doing the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and all of that good stuff, none of us were at the table.
We weren't
That's
at the
true.
table, but isn't it interesting that the founders of this country, with all of their shenanigans, now they had some
That's
shenanigans.
a nice way to put it.
Look, they had some
Shenanigans.
craziness going, right? But they talked about a country that they weren't even ready to accept themselves.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting? That they put into the Constitution, into the Bill of Rights, where they didn't even practice at the time themselves. But so their vision, although they were, that's another, invite me back. But their vision was the America that we are talking about. But they were slave owners. They weren't even able to accept it themselves. But they talked about forming that more perfect union. We are a work in progress. And we need people in leadership positions who are serious about building and seeing that America.
Ooh. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, just to add on to that beautiful just demonstration she just put on there. So she is correct. When the founding fathers put together everything, the Constitution, first off, the Constitution is, to me, a living, breathing idea of America. So when our founding fathers created that, of course, they created that during their time with their understanding, of course, with nobody at the table except for people who look like them, honestly. So in order for any significant change to happen, we need, in my opinion, we need to go through that whole entire Constitution with a fine-tooth comb. You know what I'm saying? We need to weed out things that is not relevant today. We need to add in situations and things that we deal with now that wasn't an issue, 200 years ago, 100 years ago. Do you see what I'm saying? Just like when you're a kid, you did kid things. You ate kid food. You played with kid toys. You talk and spoke and thought like a kid. But when you get older, all that should change. And just like with America, it has changed for real, like in so many ways. You know what I'm saying? So I think our Constitution needs to reflect the changes that has happened forcefully and naturally. And the Constitution, in my opinion, doesn't represent that. That's why we're always arguing and fighting about the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. It's just a headache because we're arguing about a document that was created 100-something years ago to represent their ideas in that time. I mean, that makes sense. I don't think anyone can argue that. So that's step one. If we actually want to see like a real substantive change here in America, boom, gangster.
Something to that. I think when you say, like, do we need to start over? The answer is yes. The problem is people lack the imagination of what that looks like.
Say it.
People can't see beyond what we see right now. So when you say start over, people go, no, why would we do that? We have everything we need right now. It's like, no, you just lack the imagination of what starting over looks like. And you're afraid of the balance shift that comes with starting over. Because we started from not in the stadium, we started outside the stadium, fought our way into the stadium, and now we're fighting to win the game. But if you start over now, guess what? We all start inside the stadium, and you're afraid of what that race might look like and who might come out ahead.
Can I close it?
Okay. Hold on. So what I see a issue with that, and not necessarily my issue with what he said, but how when people try to make those kind of changes, a couple of things that come to mind is when it comes to police reform. We all can understand and agree that even though policing is not just a black issue, okay? Policing is not just a black issue. There's all kind of people who are in the police department and they harass and disrespect on so many levels everybody, but disproportionately black people. But, the point is, when it comes to policing, I'm pretty sure we all can agree to some extent that policing needs to be reformed. What that looks like, I'm pretty sure there's smarter people than me who can figure out the numbers and figure out, the data to make that change. But what's going to happen? People who don't want to see change, they're going to what? Call it, the whole defunding the police. Bad faith actors is going to use that and make it seem like, well, these people, they just want to take away the police. They don't want the police doing their job. They want robbery to be legal. They want, they're going to take what you want. They're going to take something positive that you're saying and turn it into a weapon that they can use to feed their base to scare them of this kind of change. We've seen that with defund the police, prison reform. Some Republicans say, they just want to send criminals out the prisons to live right next door to you. Like, no, that's not the kind of prison reform we're talking about. We're not just talking about letting every criminal free. Like, no. You know what I'm saying? So it's just little things like that when we're trying to make those big leaps to kind of get everything to where it needs to be, because he is right. Some of these institutions were created in bad faith, and we're still operating in those same structures. That's what's called systemic racism. It's a system that was built, during a racist era, and it's carried on over, and nothing has changed of it. So that system is still going to continue the way that it was built to do. You know what I'm saying? But we got to actually make some hard decisions and actually make some changes to these institutions so everybody can live happily ever after. Man. Thank you.
I also think part of the reason people lack that imagination is because of the lack of education. There has been a hoarding of resources in this nation in a number of different ways. And education is one of those ways. And education is one of those resources that has been hoarded. And what happens is that when people are not able to know the history of other places that have started over, when people are not able to know their own identities, when people aren't able even to know the way that civics operates, they're not able to participate in the imagining of that world. And so when we look at Florida and the effort, the concerted effort that's being made to squelch education in Florida by somebody who could very possibly become the next president of this nation, we have to remember that of all of these things, the economics, the government, the et cetera, education is one of the key fundamental education is one of the key fundamental elements to our liberty. And we can do that and center that in ways that don't even require money. We should be educating each other, educating ourselves, each other, our families, our communities. That's something I try to do on my radio show. That's something you're doing here. And it's something that's going to be imperative for folks to be able to understand that there is a version of America that we have never seen and that we need to imagine from the ground up.
That's real. Basically, what you're saying is we don't want the rest of America to be like Florida.
Well, we're in the age of idiocy. We're in the age of idiocy. We are in the age of idiocy.
Like, all right, Dr. Phillips High School in Florida.
All right. So I get what she understands, what she's trying to say here. Education is key. We obviously know that, and with the lack of education, with the lack of understanding where we came from, how this country was built, through the pain and struggling, the goods, the bads, and the ugly truth, that all needs to be taken account. And for some reason, people are so sensitive. They're so worried that if their kids learn the true history about America, they're going to maybe love people. You know what I'm saying? A white kid learning the real history of America is not going to make him feel bad as a white person or a white kid. He's going to understand that there's people out there who has been left behind in the race, and maybe he might want to do something about that. Or when he has a conversation with someone who doesn't look like him, he can have a good understanding on what's going on in the world around him. It is not just, happy-go-lucky and sunshines and rainbows for everybody just because his family, it's just really basic things like that can construct a young man to understand the politics of today. Because I mean, we can go on for hours talking about the education and the understanding of someone's history and how that can affect them growing up and just interacting with the world around them. That alone right there could be devastating. If you didn't know slavery existed and you're wondering, why do black people act like this? Or why are some of these cities, a lot of black people are living this way? Why are they, probably one of the highest people living in poverty? You know what I'm saying? Why is it so much, something like they like to say, black on black crime? Well, if you look at the history and what led up to this point, it doesn't excuse everything, but it kind of gives you a glimpse of what the hell's going on. Every effect, every cause has an effect. You know what I'm saying? Slavery in that big time of period has an effect on today, obviously. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's another time for another subject. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. You know what I'm saying? I think that was a pretty good understanding and why athletes need to be well equipped when it comes to having questions from reporters like this, because you can't just be good at sports anymore, especially if you're a person of color. Because if someone asks you a question to this altitude, you need to be able to have enough knowledge and understanding to answer that question. So that's simple. That's simple.